Hi, this is Haley Hyde from Dayton, Ohio, and you're listening to Scandal Water,
where the tea is hot and the conversation lively.
Your hosts, Candy
and Ashley,
will discuss a peculiar story somehow related to the entertainment industry. This podcast might not change the world, but it just might satisfy your thirst for an intriguing tale.
Oh, it's that time of day. Tune in and hear what the ladies say. It's time to bend your ear when the silver screen appears. Stories about the stage and screen and everything in between. So come on and join the fun. The curtain opens in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, Ashley.
good morning.
I am so excited about this episode.
I know you are.
It's something that's rare for us nowadays. So if we have any listeners who've been with us since the very beginning, you guys probably remember when we first started out, we had this idea that sometimes, or even a lot of the time, I was going to surprise Ashley with some episode topics and that she would just kind of go into it cold. And we quickly realized that was not the best way to go.
Right.
It works better when we plan out the themes and choose the topics together, all that. But today is one of those rare occasions.
It is.
Where you are coming into this 100% cold.
Yes.
No idea what this topic
You have
is.
closely guarded this.
You just know the theme, which is the British are coming.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I think you're really going to like this topic.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Instead of just telling you right off the bat, I'm going to see if I can guide you to it
Okay.
by asking you a question.
All right.
If you were to think about it couples in Hollywood, those couples where both partners are equally successful and talented and popular, what are some names or some couples that come to mind?
Okay, equal in success
They're
and popularity?
both successful. They're both popular. They're both talented. Like, they're both kind of on top of the world.
I don't know. I've already ruined it, haven't I?
No, you have not. Absolutely. I mean, they don't have to be exactly equal. I mean, I thought you might say somebody like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Some of those I think are some of the ones that I was thinking about.
See, I would have gone to like Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. And I would have thought
Classic Hollywood.
Yes, I would have been Elizabeth Taylor, Richard
Yeah.
Burton,
Yeah.
Vivian Leigh, Laurence Olivier.
Okay.
That's what I would have gone for. But when you're saying now, I'm like, I don't know who's out there now. I don't know.
Well, here's a couple that came to mind for me.
Okay.
John Krasinski and Emily Blunt.
Oh, precious babies. I like them a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it was the coolest thing. I was thinking about possible topics, potential topics. No, you know what? I don't even think I'd gotten that far. I think what actually happened was I was just in the middle of doing some normal little activity, and I happened to run across an interview that John Krasinski gave on a talk show. I've heard this before. I've heard him tell this story before. I think it's darling. I love it. And I think what happened was I paused to listen to it, and this is what sparked the idea. So I'm going to let you guys hear his brief little story because y'all, Ashley and I love The Office.
I do
You know
love The
that we
Office.
love the Office Ladies podcast. You know we are fans of the actors. John Krasinski definitely being one of them.
Oh, yeah.
So here's his cute little story.
And he adores Emily. It's just so sweet.
Funny you should say that. Here you go.
Please, they don't have to tell me. The customs agent in London did. I don't know if you know, Emily just shot a movie. It's a small indie called Mary Poppins. And I went to visit her all the time. I was shooting something else, but I went almost every weekend. And it was going great. The customs, whole experience is whatever.
You gotta get through customs.
Yeah. And then I hit this guy who's about my age, and he looked like he was ready to get a little surly with me. And he said, says here that you're an actor. And I said, yeah. And he said, would I know you from anything? And I went, we redid the UK version of The Office, Strike One.
I hated that
You took
version.
what we did perfect. And then I said, yeah, and he says, who are you visiting here? I said, my wife, and he says, is she an actress? And I said, yeah. He said, would I know her? And I don't know, man. Her name's Emily Blunt. He goes, you? And I went, yeah, and he goes, you. You married Emily Blunt. And I go, yeah, and he goes like this. Okay, go. Let's go. Like, the stamp is so hard.
Love that.
I know.
It's adorable. And it goes back to what you said. They speak so highly of each other.
They do.
I feel their love. They seem like they are truly just the most delightful, lovely little couple, that they're best friends as well as, romantic partners.
And not people I would have put together.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
But it hit me because I suddenly went, I think this is funny. I have recognized John Krasinski Krasinski forever as someone that I really like and that's someone I think is very talented. You know, he's able to do so many different things. But I think that I often recognize Emily Blunt only circumstance by circumstance. I will often watch her in a show and be like, she is so good in this.
Yeah.
You know, she is so talented.
Yeah.
But it's not that often that I sit back and go, Emily Blunt, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, she's amazing. And suddenly this caused me to. And I went, she is amazing and she is British.
Let's do
so
it.
I'm like, girl, you are the topic
nice.
for this week.
Let me just scoot up to the table.
Yay. And by the way, she has been everywhere in the last month or so. But
What's she doing?
at the time, I researched this about a month ago. At the time that I was researching this, she had just come out of this cute little banter situation with Ryan Gosling at the award show.
Oh, yeah.
And then she did this amazing SNL skit with, again, Ryan Gosling. There it was their opening monologue, and she came in and did it with him. Wonderful. And then they were doing all the promos for Fall Guy. So it was related to coming out of Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yes.
She was in Oppenheimer. And then
Barbenheimer, as they called it.
Exactly. And then also the new movie. So that's what was behind it all, but she was just everywhere. Yeah. So she is our topic. But before we jump into her, here's another coincidental thing that I ran across, which I knew would delight you.
What?
Delight you. Would you believe, as I was doing a quick little Google search to get started, I saw her name appear in a Daily Jaws article.
For real?
I know. I was like, why would Emily Blunt be appearing in Daily Jaws? Well, I had to look. Here's a little quote from the Daily Jaws. My dad was always going to the video store to get really inappropriate films for all of us to watch. One of my first experiences was watching Jaws at the age of 7, and he would pitch it that it was for the whole family. But it was really for him, and we would be terrified.
Yes.
It was one of my first memories of films, and it's still my favorite. Even now, I must have seen it 35 times. The more you see it, the more you learn about how extraordinary it is. And she goes on to say films like Jaws are what inspired her to get into acting.
Wow.
Well, one of her inspirations.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then I also saw more where it talked about her husband, John Krasinski, also being a fan of Jaws and being inspired by it, as confirmed by a fellow named Andrew Form, who was the producer of one of the producers of A Quiet Place. And so Andrew Form said this about John Krasinski. Creatively, John was always talking about Jaws. From the first conversation we've ever had about the movie, he was referencing that film. We've all learned that. Brad and I have worked on a lot of these genre films. The less you show, the scarier.
Yes.
We really talked about, when do you show the creature? How much here or there? That scene in the cornfield with Reagan, the daughter, that scene could have been 2 minutes longer with the two of them. It was really talked about how much to show. And so basically it goes on to say The Quiet Place, which stars Emily Blunt.
Yes, it does.
She did the most amazing job as the mother in that film, but it was talking about the inspiration and how it influenced
really
that particular film. So this whole little Daily Jaws connection, this connection to the film and Spielberg, I had to throw it in here.
I love it.
I knew that it would be something fun to open with as we now move more directly to talk about Emily herself. She's amazing too. All right. So before we talk a little bit about her life and kind of her path to this superstardom, tell me your experiences with Emily. What have you seen? How do you, what
I would
what's
say
your
the
exposure
first
to
thing
her?
I saw her in is probably the first thing everybody saw her in is The Devil Wears
I knew it
Prada.
was coming.
Yeah. And I remember thinking she was great in that, but she wasn't on my radar. It was just like, oh, that was a great performance. I happened to know the trivia of that was John Krasinski's favorite film, and he watched it a ton, and he was a little stalkery about it, but he tells that story too. But then I saw her in The Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, where I went, wow, this lady can do a large range of stuff. I'm sure I saw a few other films of hers, but it's sort of like you. It's like I don't follow her career. Like if it's Emily Blunt, I'm going to go see the film. That's not necessarily it, but if it looks like a film that I'm interested in, I'll go, oh, okay, I'll go watch this. And I think we found out that she could sing when she did Into the Woods, and then Mary Poppins Returns, as he talked about. She seems to have this amazing range, and I did see A Quiet Place where her acting chops were just unbelievable, especially in the scene in the bathtub where she has to give, quote unquote, give birth silently, because in A Quiet Place you have to be quiet or it attracts the alien beings or whatever they are.
Yeah. Kirk and I rewatched Edge of Tomorrow in preparation for this episode, And I had forgotten how amazing she was. She rocked that. I mean, that woman owned that role.
She seems to be one of the most versatile actresses we have right now in that she can do anything.
That's my takeaway. You know how it is. You get really focused when you start to research something, when you really pay attention. In fact, that, you know, it's kind of like when you're buying a new car and all of a sudden you're noticing nothing but cars on the road. When I started actually looking at her and doing this research, all of a sudden I just started to think about all the things I've seen her in, and you nailed it. Her versatility is unmatched. She's amazing. And everything is so different. She can jump from, I mean, like so many, I hate to say it this way. I'm not trying to be critical. There are actors where they seem like the same character in every role. Yeah. They really do. She's totally different.
You know what she is?
Totally different.
She's like the inverse of Gary Oldman. Because she always looks like Emily Blunt. But the characters that she plays are so incredibly different. Where Gary Oldman, you never recognize that it's him because you're like, oh, that was Gary Oldman? He was amazing. But she is doing I still look like Emily Blunt, but you're going to see range from me, just acting range from me.
Yes. But at the same time, I mean, she's always gorgeous. But she is not afraid to lean into the less glamorous looks.
Yeah.
Like Girl on a Train, even Oppenheimer, you know,
I haven't
she
seen that
ages
yet.
in Oppenheimer.
Does she? Okay.
Yes, she goes for it.
Yeah, that's great.
She goes for it. But I agree, amazing. I'm very impressed with this woman. So let's talk more about her, because I will tell you, as I learned a few things about her life that I did not know, I was also impressed by those things.
We're just going to end this episode being even more impressed. We're just going to give you a spoiler alert right now.
So Emily was born February 23rd, 1983 in London. She's the second of 4 children. Her mom was Joanna, who was an actress using her maiden name, Joanna Mackey. That was her stage name. But she actually stepped back from acting to focus on raising her children. And at some point along the way, she actually became an English teacher. Now, Emily's dad was Oliver Blunt. And this kind of struck me because as of the time that there was this write-up written on the Leaders in Law's website, it said at that time he was still a practicing lawyer at Furnival Chambers in London with a focus on murder, terrorism, drug, and fraud cases.
Whoa.
Hello. So
we need to introduce him to Harlan Coben.
So apparently this was a pretty well-educated, well-to-do family, I would say. And Emily's 3 siblings have all gone on to do very well for themselves. Her older sister Felicity is a very successful literary agent based in the UK. She has a younger brother, Sebastian, who is another actor. He was in fact in Edge of Tomorrow, had a small role there, and he played Prince Edward on The Crown. Those are just a couple of his roles that people might recognize. Emily also has a younger sister named Susanna, who seems to be the one who kind of likes to stay out of the limelight. But in one interview, Emily did mention, she called her Susie, that Susie was a veterinarian and that she had a beautiful singing voice.
Aww.
So, all right, those are her siblings. Growing up, Emily did have a lot of advantages because of her family being so well-to-do, and also they were just very attentive to anything the kids wanted to try. A lot of Emily's education occurred at some of the top co-ed private boarding schools, and she did have the opportunity to play lots of different sports. She got to sing, and she learned to play the cello. But here's something you probably know that I did not. She has been very open in speaking about the terrible struggle she had with stuttering when she was growing up.
I do remember a little bit about this, but not enough to speak eloquently on it. So.
I didn't remember this at all. She said it was very hard, she used the word frustrating. There was a lot of frustration because she didn't say this in a braggy way, but she knew she had ideas. She knew she was bright and she wanted to participate. She wanted to share her ideas, and she often found she could not express them, or she was uncomfortable trying because of the stuttering issue. So she was very self-conscious about it, and she said she was also bullied because of it. And so in different interviews where she's talked about this, she says that one strategy that she and a lot of other people who struggle with stuttering will use is called word switching. You're having trouble with this word, or you know you might, so you just use different words. But she she said, I thought this was interesting. She said one of the most stressful questions for someone with a stuttering issue is when they ask you your name, because there's no substitution for that. And so she said it can make you tense up.
Yeah.
Just knowing
Yeah, that
what
you're gonna be
if I
asked.
struggle with that.
Okay.
Yeah. But Emily also discovered a different strategy that was powerful for her, which was talking in, quote, a lot of funny voices because I could speak more fluently if I didn't sound like me. So her biggest strategy was doing voices or impressions. And this actually also helped her popularity and helped her with the bullying issue because it made her kind of stand out and she was entertaining and kids liked talking to her. So she said one day when she was around 12, a teacher overheard her talking using her funny voices, doing impressions, and this teacher found her and suggested she try out for a class play.
Wow.
According to Emily, he said, quote, I think you are funny and you should do it. And have you ever thought about doing it in a different voice? So she followed that teacher's advice. She got into a play and she successfully did a role using a different voice. And in an interview with W Magazine in 2009, she said, quote, I distanced myself from me through this character, and it was so freeing that my stuttering stopped when I was on stage. It was really a miracle.
Wow.
So she gives that experience credit for fueling her love for acting, and she also gives it credit for helping her to overcome her childhood stutter. Although she is very clear in saying that she considers herself a stutterer to this day.
Really?
Yep. She explains that sometimes certain words or certain stressful situations will cause her to kind of get a little stressed. She might stumble a bit. She might struggle a little bit more. For example, she said that even during her pregnancy, issues with stuttering would come up more often just because of, hormone or the stress, different things. But because of her own experiences, Emily is very sympathetic to the problems that can be experienced by people who struggle with stuttering. In one interview, she commented that she knows for many people, stuttering presents a real problem. And she was careful to say, it's not just kids. This is a quote from her. You have adults in their 40s and 50s who haven't been able to get the jobs that they deserve because you're sort of misrepresented by how you speak. She has such a heart for this. She is such an advocate for this cause that she received an award in 2023 for her work with the American Institute of Stuttering. And in her speech accepting that award, she said that stuttering, in addition to some of the other challenges that it might cause you, can also severely impact your sense of self-worth.
That's true.
And another quote regarding that was, it's nearly always misidentified as a nervous disposition or a psychological issue. This is wrong. This is wrong. It is neurological. It's biological. It's often hereditary, and it's not your fault. These are the facts I just wish I had known early on because I stuttered brilliantly for years and all through my childhood.
It reminds me of that film, The King's Speech, because
Yes.
he was a stutterer and he had to get
Yes.
help overcoming that.
Yes, 100%. So she's done all this work and she's kind of, I think, really put herself out there as someone, kind of the face of
An
this.
advocate.
Yes. And I did not know that. And I just absolutely love discovering that about her. But moving back into her timeline, while she was at a private school called Hurtwood House, she studied drama. And that's how she got her big break. One of her drama teachers was Adrian Rawlings, who is a professional actor that many people might recognize from his role as James Potter in the Harry Potter movies.
Okay.
So while she was acting in a school production, this production then went on to be shown at the Edinburgh Festival. She was in it alongside her teacher, Adrian Rawlings, and his agent spotted her in this play and signed her almost immediately.
Nice.
I know. Then when she was just 18 years old, she got her first professional acting job in a West End production called The Royal Family, which had the co-star of Dame Judi Dench.
That'll do. That'll do real nice.
Yeah, that might help just a
That
little bit.
reminded me, I also saw her in Young Victoria.
I have not seen that. What's that one?
About young Queen Victoria. She
Oh.
plays Queen Victoria up until I think it's just up until the point that she gets married or a little around in there.
Yes, I actually remember now some mention in a source of her getting a lot of critical acclaim for that.
It was good.
Yeah. Well, it was actually Judi Dench who gave Emily some career advice. I thought this was cute. Emily tells about somebody approaching her and saying that she could be a pop star. She could be
because she
like,
could sing. Yeah.
She could sing. And she said, although she couldn't dance, this person said that's that's not a problem. You know, you can learn. You should be a pop star. And Emily said she tried to work on it a little bit, and she still was struggling with that dance thing. But she still, you know, in the back of your mind, you know, when you're young, you want to be a pop star. So she went to Judi Dench for advice. She said, my first job was with Judi Dench, the Dame, which was incredible. And she was wonderful to me. I went to her for advice because I was really, really nervous about this career that I didn't know was right for me. I didn't think it was right for me. She said, oh no, darling, you can't do both. You can't act and that. And Emily said she talked me out of it.
Yeah, and that's what reminded me of Victoria, because Judi Dench has played older Queen Victoria.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
so they were connected again.
Yeah, they were.
I love that. Well, after this, things started happening really fast for Emily. According to Emily's bio on the Hurtwood House website, then came her breakthrough into film with her role as Tamsin in the 2004 My Summer of Love, for which she won the Evening Standard British Film Award for Most Promising Newcomer. Nice. In 2005, Emily won a Golden Globe for her role as an emotionally troubled young woman in the British TV drama Gideon's Daughter with Bill Nighy and Miranda Richardson. Soon, Emily was taking Hollywood by storm as a fashion editor's assistant alongside Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada, which earned her a BAFTA nomination. So let's talk more about The Devil Wears Prada. You know, it's funny, at the time that it came out, I remember thinking that this actress I did not know was good in that role, but I'm going to admit, I was focused on...
Anne Hathaway.
I was.
Yeah.
I was focused on Anne Hathaway. I was focused on Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
I really was.
I was too.
But this is Emily's breakout role. It was 2006. She played Emily Charlton, the very fashionable and very snarky assistant to the character played by Meryl Streep, which was Miranda Priestley. It was a smash hit. It raked in $327 million on a $35 million budget.
That's huge.
Yeah. She not only was nominated for that BAFTA I mentioned, but she also won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress for that role.
That's a big deal.
But this was cute. Emily says she almost blew the audition because she said that she was rushing for the airport and she was flustered. So when she went in to do this audition, she was wearing sweatpants and she did not look the part at all. And so she told her that the director was like, we need you to do it again, but can you like not wear sweatpants? Because the studio needs to see you look more stylish, more like the character. So she did, and she won the role, obviously. And she has commented in interviews since that time that that role actually has helped to make her the more fashion conscious person that she is today. Yep.
So it's responsible for making her fashion conscious. It's responsible for her career in Hollywood. And it's responsible for her marriage. Because he saw her in that.
Oh, true.
Yeah, that's where he first saw her.
Well, a fun side note is just within this last year, Emily Blunt and Anne Hathaway were interviewed together for a Variety article, and they were sharing a lot of their fun memories, different things that they experienced together, and lots of nice things about each other. But this was an interesting little exchange, I thought, related to The Devil Wears Prada. At one point, Anne Hathaway said, you know, I think Meryl always wanted to join in on the fun with us. She kept herself so in character. And Emily responded, do you know she's never done method acting since? She said it made her so miserable on this one because we were all having a party on the other side of the set and she was like, I won't do this again. So that was something that Emily has talked about, is that she was actually scared of Meryl because Meryl was staying in
I would be scared of Meryl just on a regular day, and then she's acting like that character? Shoot.
Yeah, but she also said it made it easier for her to get into the role.
Yeah.
You know? So, great experience. In fact, Emily Blunt has said that her life changed almost in an instant. Her exact quote was, it was a night and day change. The day the movie came out, all the people in the bakery suddenly knew who I was. It was surreal.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she was in high demand, of course. She went on to do a number of films over the next few years. I'll just name a few of them. Wind Chill, Dan in Real Life, Charlie
I
Wilson's
thought she was
War,
in Dan in Real Life. Yes, yes.
The Great Buck Howard, Sunshine Cleaning.
Oh, Sunshine Cleaning. She was good in that too. That was with Amy Adams. That was a good one.
You mentioned The Young Victoria, and also The Wolfman, starring Benicio del Toro.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, but then 2010 came along, and that was a huge year for Emily for a few different reasons. So one of those reasons was, it sounds like it's a negative thing here, she actually got cast in Gulliver's Travels, which cost her the role of Black Widow in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It went on to go to Scarlett Johansson. But in some ways, Emily has said that not playing the superhero has been a big move in her life because it's kind of helped her go to a lot of different projects that she might never have been exposed to.
Right.
It also was the year that she married John Krasinski. So here's the quick little backstory. You've already said that he was
A super fan.
He was. Yeah, you're right. He is so funny, I think, in telling the story of how she did not find it out until after they started dating. But when he
Yeah, because how are
finally,
you going to lead with that information?
when he finally admitted it, he told her that he would watch the movie on repeat and he'd seen it over 70 times.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Nuts
crazy.
Amount of time. Nuts amount of time.
Think about how much of your life that is.
That's a lot of hours.
But they actually met in a restaurant in 2008. Emily was telling Seth Meyers about it on his talk show one time, and she said, it's kind of a sad, lame story. I was in a restaurant. He was in the restaurant. I was sitting with a mutual friend, and my friend Gray goes, oh my God, that's my friend John. And that was it. He was sitting with our friend Justin Theroux. And he abandoned Justin and came over to us.
Of course he did. He'd seen it 70 times. He's like, this is my moment.
Wait a minute.
It's my time.
And she said he just stood there and made me laugh.
Oh, John.
And their first date was pizza at his apartment, and they were engaged less than a year later. So they married on July 10th, 2010, in a quiet little ceremony at George Clooney's estate in Lake Como, Italy.
As you do.
As you do. And then here's a fun little side note. Let's just kind of bring this little Devil Wears Prada part to a close here. Have you ever heard this? Stanley Tucci was at that wedding. Emily had worked with him
I know
on
what
The
you're
Devil
gonna say.
Wears Prada, and she thought he was a wonderful, witty man. In fact, she has said about Stanley, he is an all-around Renaissance man who knows the way to everyone's heart, and it's through having a good time. He's frighteningly bright, quick to laugh, loves to be laughed at, charismatic, warm, and energetic. She adores him. So while they're at the wedding, Stanley met Emily's sister, Felicity.
And they got married.
They end up getting married. They'd met before. They'd actually first met at the premiere of The Devil Wears Prada back in 2006, but Stanley had been married at that time. And in the interim, his wife had passed away of
I
breast
didn't know that,
cancer.
yeah.
So now that they've crossed paths again at this wedding, they connected, and Stanley had 3 kids with his wife, Kate. And so he said in an interview that he was afraid of getting into a relationship. He kept trying to break it off. And the main reason was he's 21 years older than Felicity. And he said he was joking. I don't want to feel old for the rest of my life. But he also said he knew she was an incredibly special person. They ended up getting married in 2012. Steve Buscemi was Stanley Tucci's best man.
Aw.
And Stanley went on to say, Felicity has been so incredible, taking on a widower and 3 children whose mother died. That's a huge thing at a very young age. If anybody made things better for all of us, it's her. She's the one. So Emily and Stanley Tucci are now in-laws.
That's cool.
And Emily says the entire Blunt family adores him.
As you would. He's amazing. Also, little note, our episode is going to come out on July 9th. So happy anniversary tomorrow to
happy anniversary.
John and Emily. I'm sure they're listening.
Yes, yes.
Best wishes from us.
Well, you know what? Why don't we pause there and take a little break before we go on?
I think it's safe to say that John loves Emily, and we love our listeners. As the podcast grows, we're always on the lookout for ways to give our listeners a direct line to the subjects we cover. You already know how much we love it when you email us with listener suggestions and feedback, but something you may not know is that we also have a group on Facebook called Scandal Water, Armchairs and Tea, where we share memes, personal photos, and any cool connections to previous episodes we may find. Currently, we are hosting a poll, the outcome of which will determine the first theme of the new season. So, if you'd like to have direct impact on guaranteed content, then head on over to Facebook and search for Armchairs and Tea and cast your vote today. Cheers!
All right, we're back to talk more about Emily Blunt. So, since 2010, she has been in too many projects to name, but I'll hit a few highlights. She has done voice work, such as when she did the role of Juliet in the animated Romeo and Juliet. She did a fun cameo as Miss Piggy's receptionist in The Muppets in 2011. And she was in the 2012 movies, The 5-Year Engagement and Looper, both of which brought her a lot more critical praise. And then there were 2 movies in 2014 that have been referred to as, quote, more breakout star moments. One of them we've already been talking about, Edge of Tomorrow.
That was great.
Yeah, she was Rita playing alongside Tom Cruise, as we said. That film made $137 million on a $30 million budget. I'm going to say it again. She was so good.
Yeah.
I mean, that was physically demanding.
Yes.
It was mentally demanding.
Yes.
I mean, her star power, if you're not the one that's recognized as being at an equal level with Tom Cruise, you could be overshadowed or you could kind of let yourself...
But she was toe-to-toe with him.
She was. I mean, I honestly
She was
felt
bossing
like
him around.
I feel like she carried it more than he did. Like she, to me, had stronger stage presence or film presence than he did in that movie.
Yeah, I would say that was sort of by design, though, because his character was such a scaredy cat at the top. I remember, man, this is off topic, but one of the best scenes I thought he did is where, remember, right before the drop, where he acted freaked out? I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, he was
acting.
great in that too. Yeah, it's just a good movie.
It's a good movie. I recommend it.
It was funny because I kind of, I was the one kind of nudging Kirk, do this
he
with
enjoy
me.
it?
And yeah, he didn't really want to. And then we both were like, that was so good. That was so good.
One more trivia. What's the fella in it with them who is in Twister? What's his name? He plays a person from Kentucky in that movie, and I thought he had a really good accent. He's the other Bill, not
Bill
Bill
Paxton?
Yeah, not Bill Pullman, but Bill Paxton.
Okay, you're right. But Emily Blunt, I didn't know this. She actually won a 2015 Critics' Choice Award for Best Actress in an Action Movie for that role.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, but that was the exact same year that she also played the baker's wife in Into the Woods, and that's when she shocked everyone with her singing ability. I have not seen that.
I haven't either, but I knew she could sing.
Well, I was a little surprised at this. I mean, I think the juxtaposition of
The
just
action.
coming out of seeing her do that action role and then hearing that she was in this musical, which I have heard about a lot. It just kind of hit me. That musical made $213 million on a $50 million budget. Very, very popular, made some money. And she, again, got a lot of notice. But it was a big year for another reason. It was in February of 2014 that she and John had their first daughter, Hazel Grace.
Yes, and I think I remember that on reshoots for Edge of Tomorrow that there was some stuff that she didn't want to do, pregnant or couldn't do or something. And I think Tom is the only person that she told, because at the time she's a star and you don't want that leaking out. But I think he was the only one that knew, so he could back her up and say she can't do this or working. I remember reading that a long while ago where she trusted him and said, "Look, I can't do this because of this reason," and he worked with her to help make sure that she was safe.
Nice. Well, just another little trivia note. In 2015, Emily Blunt became an American citizen through naturalization, which actually makes her a dual citizen of the UK and the US.
Nice.
Yeah. So over the next few years, she went on to do several more roles. One of them that I thought was a standout was when she played Rachel in the 2016 psychological thriller, The Girl on the Train.
See, I haven't seen that because I thought it would spook me too much, but you've seen it?
I read the book,
Yeah.
and then I saw the movie, and that, in my mind, was an incredibly difficult role.
Yeah.
Like, that's a tricky part, and I remember being impressed with her. I thought she did a great job, and I enjoyed the movie. I'm not sure if everybody did. I didn't look this up, but I think there were some mixed reviews, if I recall correctly. I thought she was great. It was also in 2016, June of that year, that they had their second child, Violet, and not long after that, in 2017, was when Emily and John started working together on A Quiet Place, although the film did not actually get released until 2018. So we've already said this. I'm going to say it again. It's one of the things I love most about this couple is how they are each other's biggest fans, biggest
really
cheerleaders. And I really feel like they truly love and respect each other. And they're so complimentary in public. So
they are like another Joanne Woodward and Paul Newman,
Yeah.
who were so complimentary and supported each other, and yet so different in their careers.
Right. And so I loved this little quote that John gave about Emily, and it was when he was watching her work on this film, so I'm going to share it with you. He said, "The air changes in the room when she starts doing what she does. It's so honest and so pure and so powerful. It's like a superpower that she can just unlock and do so specifically with not many attempts."
And I've also heard that she would be doing this crying and stuff, and then when they call cut, she just comes right out of it. Like, "Hey, what's for lunch? Let's go," just incredible.
And remember, she kind of fell into this. Her training
Yeah.
was just at a private boarding school. This is
Yeah.
not somebody who's been professionally trained.
It's a lot of natural talent.
Yes, it's just amazing.
Although I will tell you, I have noticed that she, you know how people will sometimes have, not, I don't want to call it a tell, but as something that they
their
do.
fallback.
Their fallback. She listens with her mouth open. And I do this a lot too. So this is not a criticism of her. It's just oh, thank goodness, someone
It's a
else does
noticing.
this. It's a noticing thing. If you'll notice, she'll, like, her mouth will fall open as she's listening or in between when she's not speaking. It's just a thing.
Which was something that happened a lot in this movie, the not speaking.
Yes.
So and that's the compliment, right? I mean, it's hard enough to act anyway, but to carry, I mean, all of they were all leads, right? The whole family were very strong and very important, significant in that movie, but she was one of the most significant, and that woman could act with her eyes,
Yes, she
with her
could.
face,
Yes, she could.
just a pause or a movement. She was incredible. I loved her. Well, this was a big movie for them as a couple, because not only are they both starring in it, but they're invested in it collectively, because, you know, John helped write the
Directed it.
script, and then he directed it. He starred in it alongside Emily, and they had 2 young daughters at the time, by the way. So they have both commented about how consumed they were with that film for this big chunk of time. It was really cute. They said they were not just consumed with it when they were working, but also at home. One of them told a really cute story, I think, on a talk show, where they said that they would be talking about it constantly. And one night they're like making dinner, and they're kind of like playing, like, what would it be like to be that quiet? Like, and John dropped a spoon by accident. And he said, without even like a split second's hesitation, Emily goes, "You're dead."
That's funny.
Yeah, but John has said that he thinks the couple's marriage benefited from their collaboration on that project. He says, "I've never loved my wife more than after we did this movie. For
What a
me, it was a
sweetheart.
trust thing. We trust each other in day-to-day life for sure. But when you trust each other in this way, it's different. So it's a whole new level." She received a lot of praise for her work, and the movie was a massive success, of course, grossing $350 million, only cost $17 million to make.
Wow.
And the same year was Mary Poppins Returns, also
Another
I know.
vastly different project.
And very successful, lots more attention. This is another funny little note. When asked about some of her most stressful stunts in her career, think of what we've just talked about. Edge of Tomorrow, A Quiet Place, you know, all these different things. She will tell about Mary Poppins Returns as one of the top things that comes to mind. She said that the character's entrance when Mary Poppins had to start in the clouds and come all the way down to the ground while holding an umbrella.
Yeah.
And then you have to just kind of like, she had to just like land and then like walk straight into it as though it was nothing. She said that was super stressful for her.
Ooh.
That's one of her most
Well,
stressful stunts.
And also the icon of, I have to do this right.
Oh, yeah.
Mentally stressful too.
Yeah, I'm sure. Things slowed down a bit during the pandemic, of course, but in 2021, Emily had 2 movies come out, A Quiet Place 2 and Jungle Cruise.
Oh,
And
yeah, I saw Jungle Cruise too. See, that's the thing. I'm like, oh, yeah, I saw that. Yep.
yeah, I did not see that. Was it good?
It was okay.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, here is something that Kirk and I watched, and talk about different. She was both a lead actress and executive producer on the Western TV miniseries The English. Did you watch that?
I did not, no.
Okay, I don't know if it's a 5-star, but I was very impressed with this. I was very engrossed with this. It was different. It's a Western set primarily in 1890, and in it, Emily plays Lady Cornelia Locke, who is driven from England to America by grief, and she's out for revenge, actually. She meets up with this character. He's a Pawnee ex-cavalry scout.
Yeah.
And the character's name is Eli Whip, and it's played by Chaskey Spencer. And the 2 kind of cross paths, and then they end up helping each other fulfill their quest. They end up traveling together quite a ways. And it's gritty and dark, and it's kind of a twist on the Western, I would say.
Yeah.
But super interesting, and her acting is amazing. She said about it, "I've always adored the genre of the Western. It's built on
Me too, Emily.
It's built on brutality, toxic masculinity, and revenge, and the loneliness of the environment is terribly cinematic." Now, that second part is talking specifically about her production.
Her film, yeah.
In order to do this, she had to do extensive training in horseback riding for the film.
She didn't already know?
Well, she'd ridden before,
Okay.
but not the way you have to do this film.
Okay.
So she said that she rode for 3 months before they started to help feel her more at ease, because she said people back then, you had to be, it was as though you were at one with the horse. You had to know your stuff at a different level. And she also jokingly shared that she's wildly allergic to horses.
Oh, no.
So she said there was a lot of antihistamine involved. But it was cute because she shared that John and their kiddos would join her on location in Spain while she was filming, and the whole family actually got lessons in horseback riding. Oh, here you go. Here's a little description that I think might do a better job than what I just did. The English was described as being a revisionist Western that was more gritty and violent than the typical. Okay, so lots of critical praise. Emily and Chaske Spencer both got a lot of critical acclaim for the roles that they portrayed. And at the SAG Awards, Emily was nominated for Outstanding Performance by a Female Actor in a Miniseries or Television Movie for her work on the English. So that brings us to, just in the last year or two, Emily's role in Oppenheimer as Kitty Oppenheimer got her first Oscar nomination.
It's her second time working with
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian, because they were in A Quiet Place 2 together, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Emily said that playing Kitty was not easy, but she loved it. It was kind of a challenge because Kitty Oppenheimer was a woman who did not conform to the norms of that period. You know, the 1950s housewife. So she said she was very interesting to play, and so she enjoyed it, and she really liked getting to work with Cillian Murphy again. They have a lot of respect for each other. Yeah, in fact, Cillian Murphy said this about her. Emily has that fierce intelligence, both intellectually and emotionally. She's a phenomenal actress, not to mention the kindest, most thoughtful person.
That's just wonderful.
I know. So that's kind of where we ended at the time that I was wrapping this up. Again, I was seeing Emily on everything from SNL to her press junkets to the award shows. But one last little comment I will make is, while she is caught up in all these projects, all these things, she still makes a point. She's open about it. She says, my daughters are my first priority. Like, one source said that she has a strict policy of never being absent from them for more than a fortnight. She said, quote, because even though they're hardy and they're used to this strange life, it's still rough on them when I have to go away. And so that's why the kids were visiting her in Spain.
Right.
You know, they're going to still be a family,
Right.
even as they're doing all these projects. They make a point. And cute little last quote, when I see myself up on a billboard, I have this complete dissociation with it. I'm like, who's that? And I can see my children doing the same. They might say, oh, there's mama, but it's not exciting for them. What's exciting for them is when I can pick them up from school and take them swimming.
Oh.
Armchair psychologist.
So is she going to be our one exception to this? We've done this podcast for 3 seasons now, several years. And every time we talk about a major star, they have a rotten family life. Has she become our gold standard that it's different?
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
That's that's
asked
a great armchair. Let's lead right into the armchair. Let's talk about how she breaks the norm.
Right.
Breaks
She
the
does.
pattern.
We've talked about, just off the top, Marilyn Monroe, Judy Garland, these people who are stratospheric. And she's not stratospheric yet, but she might be. And she has a happy home life.
She has a happy home life.
A happy marriage.
She came from a happy childhood.
Yes.
She still is in very strong, loving relationships with her siblings and her parents, even now. And then is in what seems to be a very, very happy,
supportive, loving marriage. What do we talk about? How did you do it? What do you think is the difference?
I think it comes down to two people who are both a little different. Like these are two people who independently managed to not let Hollywood go to their heads, to not let ego take them over, or to get swayed by adulation and the craziness of life as a celebrity. And then they found each other.
Do you think that it's, like you said, she sort of fell into the business of acting? It wasn't her original aspiration. It wasn't her lifelong dream. She wasn't ambitious in the, I'm going to be a star. She just went into like, hey, this works for me. This helped me stop stuttering. I enjoy it. It's just more what she does for fun, which is why she cannot take it as seriously.
I don't know that I should be speculating wildly in this way because I don't know this woman. But my tendency, my gut says it's the opposite, that she is a very smart woman who's very analytical, and this is a craft for her.
Okay.
I see her as someone who comes from a background where she has parents with status who have handled situations themselves with aplomb, or and so she got to watch role models do it. She got to live the life of managing a lot of those things that are around you that people like us don't deal with. You know what I'm saying? Like she probably was already going to parties where you had people who had a lot of wealth and status and all whatever. I think her upbringing has helped her. I think her intelligence has helped her. I think her empathy, the fact that she struggled with an issue that cost her
self-confidence.
Yes, and forced her to deal with bullying and different things that helped her to think about what it means to be a human and be an empathetic person.
Yeah.
I think all of that. Yeah. So
I think she's just pretty well incredible.
I think so too. And it's funny because I'll tell you that my original question was going to be, if we were going to give Emily Blunt an award, what would we award her? And within the first 5 seconds of our podcast episode, you said, you know what? I think she's most versatile. And I was like, that is exactly what award I would have given her.
There we go.
There went my question.
Sorry. But we had an interesting one. I'd be interested to hear what our listeners think of. What do you think about this? Is she the anomaly of a person that has really, truly seems to, of course, we don't know, obviously.
Right. You're right.
Seems to have it all, where in a good way.
Yeah.
Which good for her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I'm gonna loop back. When I started this, I don't know that I would have thought of them as a power couple on equal footing. Because of my love for The Office, because of my exposure with John Krasinski, I probably would have leaned more toward John. I come out of this, I am like, Emily, girl, you are...
They're equals, but in different fields.
Right. You are holding your own in every way, and I just applaud her. I'm so impressed by her, and this is the it couple where these two complement, supplement, encourage, support, push each other to be better. They are great together, but they are 100% just fine by themselves.
Yes, they are. Yes.
So a big cheers to you, Miss Emily Blunt. Go get 'em, lady.
Yes. Cheers to you.
If you love what we do, please rate and review our show. Or you can become a supporter by making a donation through buymeacoffee.com/scandalwaterpod. Whether a single gift or a recurring monthly donation, it would go a long way towards supporting our work and allowing us to keep the tea brewing.
At our website, www.scandalwaterpodcast.com, you can submit questions or your own story ideas, access our sources and show notes, see the merch we offer for sale, and more. You can join the Scandal Water community through our Scandal Water Podcast Facebook page or follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Scandal Water Podcast.
This episode was executive produced by Candy Thomas, that's me, and Ashley Raymer Brown.
That's me.
It was researched and written by Candy Thomas and edited by Ashley Raymer Brown.
A special thank you to Josh Martin, who wrote, composed, and performed the Scandal Water theme and other music, Matt C. Adams, who created the artwork, and Joshua Reith, who designed our website and provides ongoing technical support.
As a reminder, this podcast is purely for entertainment purposes. The thoughts and opinions of the host during each episode of Scandal Water are their own and do not reflect the opinions of any future guests, advertisers, or clearly professional psychologists. Thanks for listening.